So why write an op-ed basically extolling the virtues of a $15 minimum wage?
Well, for a couple of reasons. Primarily because Amazon has been a subject in political debate, in the campaign, especially on the Democratic side of late. And we welcome the attention, we welcome the scrutiny, but we also want to make sure that those who are paying attention to that part of the debate understand what Amazon really is and what we're about. One of the things I wrote in that column is that phrases like big tech and the tech industry, they obscure more than they enlighten. I mean, you guys know at CNBC how different we are as a company from some of our quote-unquote big tech peers. I mean, our primary business is to store, pick, pack, and deliver billions of physical goods. That requires enormous infrastructure and an enormous amount of employment. That's very different from trading in bits of data. We don't offer a service free of charge in exchange for your data that we then monetize. That's very different from some other business models. But the focus of that piece was, you know, that moment when Bernie Sanders, a senator from Vermont, a champion of workers' rights, called me to congratulate Amazon on raising our minimum wage to $15 an hour. And that puts us well ahead of our competitors in the retail industry, coupled with enormously positive health care and maternity leave benefits that nobody else among our competitors can match, as well as a huge investment in upskilling.
All right, so then why not just pay the wage and go about your business? Why try to convince others to do so? Because, Jay, the response is, oh, Amazon's big enough, they can afford it, and they want to crush rivals who perhaps can afford it less.
Well, I think that some of the rivals we're talking about are awfully big. In fact, much bigger than we are. It's often misunderstood that Amazon's not even the biggest retailer in the United States. Walmart is by almost 2.5 times the size of Amazon. And we believe that $15 an hour, as a lot of progressives believe, is the minimum that anybody in the United States should be paid for an hour of labor. You know that doesn't buy very much. By setting our minimum, as we did in November of 2018 at $15 an hour, we drove wage increases not just within Amazon, but across the country. Everywhere where we invest and we offer that minimum, and in many regions of the country, the minimum is above 15 for us. That helps workers around the region, and it helps drive activity in the economy that, again, produces more growth.
Jay, I get the case for $15 minimum wage and why you wrote the op-ed around that, but it also came on the heels of this letter from 13 members of the U.S. Senate who weren't talking about minimum wage, who were talking about safety record and looking for a response from Amazon. That wasn't exactly addressed in the op-ed. How would you address that now?
Well, the op-ed was written before the letter, but look, one of the things I say in the op-ed is, you know, we're a big institution, we're a large company. Like all big institutions, we should be scrutinized in our job. I run both public relations and public policy, which means our conversations with governments is to make sure we pass that scrutiny with flying colors. So we'll engage, as we have, with members of Congress on this issue. The facts, as anybody who studies injury reports understands, is that across the country, injuries are woefully underreported. That was true at Amazon a number of years ago, and then we changed the way we report injuries. That spiked the numbers for us. We report well above what's required by OSHA, but we did it because we wanted the data. We wanted to know exactly what was happening so we could invest accordingly to improve the working conditions for our workers. And we're putting in another $300 million this year on safety projects to do just that. And look, I would say we welcome the letter. 13 United States senators, incredibly important people. They all know that our fulfillment centers, our warehouses, are open to public tours. We've invited every member of Congress to come have a look for themselves at the working conditions in our FCs. Far less than a majority of those senators have ever visited one. So we would love to have all of them come.
Jay, on JEDI, is it really your calculation that you're going to get to depose the president?
Well, that's for lawyers and courts to decide. It's very important to us that a full legal review take place to examine what we believe was blatant political interference that took place in this process that affected the decision that was made. And that's because on the merits, we believe, and the case will contend that there were flaws in the decision-making process As you know, again, it's a pleasure to talk to folks who know this business. AWS, by virtue of its early start in cloud computing and its aggressive innovation over the years, is just a superior service right now to our competitors. We offer a more comprehensive service of the kind that the Department of Defense was looking for. And all we're trying to do through this protest and this request for a legal review is to ensure that a proper decision is made on behalf of U.S. taxpayers.
Yeah, just to dig into that a little bit more, Jay, I mean, protests are a reality of government contracting. It happens often, especially in high-profile, high-value competitions like this one. So it's not surprising to see Amazon put a protest forward and go through the court process per se. But history shows that to see a competition award overturned, it's very rare. So this is also seen as something that's kind of high-profile and risky. Is this really about JEDI itself, or is there more on the line for Amazon?
No, I think it's about ensuring that the government, the Department of Defense, is free of political interference in these kinds of decisions that affect, the capabilities of our armed services, and that, as you said, there are a lot of protests in this arena. This one, and therefore a lot of them don't succeed. I would say this one's highly unusual for some of the reasons that we've laid out in our filings. Pretty unusual to have this kind of political interference that was seen in this case, and we just want independent legal review to assess what happened here and make the right decision.